Hello and welcome to Facilitator Notes number 8. What an interesting lesson we have this week. This lesson deals with the flood. There's so much in terms of the flood, so many points. I'm going to leave it up to you to figure out any additional points and facts or even trivia that you've discovered in your reading, so I won't give you everything. Okay, but this lesson is important also because it gives an opportunity for there to be a discussion and clarification about the rapture. You may be wondering, how in the world do we get to the rapture from the flood? Because Jesus mentions, and it's recorded in Matthew, it's recorded in Luke, he connects the days of Noah with the end of time and says, so as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the end. And, there'll be one taken and one left behind. Two men were in the bed, one was taken, the other one was left. So you have an opportunity to clarify certain things concerning the rapture. But before we begin, I also use this lesson as an opportunity to get people used to genealogies. So chapter 5 brings about the genealogies, and in an email long before the session actually starts, I send them a little piece of homework and I say, please make sure you read through chapter 5 with the genealogies and just do an average. Do a mathematical average of the length of life and a mathematical average based on the onset or beginning of fatherhood. So how old were they? How long did they live? Generally on average, and then how old were they when they became fathers? It's just interesting information, but genealogies are very important for a Bible study. Now, going through the lesson, it's a very short lesson, so I'll just go through and walk through numbers 1 through 5 of the study, and we'll just do that conversationally and talk about God striving with man. And there's room for personal application in terms of, well, what is he striving with concerning us, and what do we need him to really strive long and hard with us over? Now, 6 and 7 is where the fun begins, if you will. And this is also an opportunity to train your group and even train yourself concerning how to deal with people that you disagree with when it comes to biblical doctrine. We're very heavy often to engage in correction as opposed to seeing each opportunity as an opportunity for connection. So do you take on the attitude of correction or the attitude of connection? This topic gives us an opportunity to do that. So I help them. My group was large enough, I was able to put them in groups and ask them to go through Matthew 24 and pick out the verses where it actually seems to support the rapture. That's not hard to do. And it's always good to do things like that to be able to say to someone, I can understand how you see that. Well, go through the scriptures and see it for yourself, how a person could maybe think that there's going to be a secret rapture. So find the verses in Matthew 24. Then, once they've shared that, I have them in their group use that same chapter and try to find one or two verses, one or two clues. There are about 3 or 4 clues from the chapter that really help to explain and clarify what the truth is. So allow them to be able to do that. That way they own the information. Now, of course, that means that you have to do this first because I'm not telling you anything. And just take a note that verses 15, 16, 21, and 29, those are things that have already happened in history. You can't always say that to everyone, so be careful with whom you say that to because they will ask you to prove it. I can prove it, but you will need to prove that those things have already happened. Anyway, going down to the tribulation, there are faith groups that believe that believers will be raptured so as to escape the tribulation. You might want to do some research on the rapture and the tribulation just so that you can understand. Just do a little bit because there's so much out there and very few agree actually on the doctrine, so don't get too caught up. But when it comes to the tribulation, here are some scriptures, and you want to write these down. John 16, verse 33. Again, that's John 16, verse 33. The next is John 17, verse 15. The last one is Hebrews 5, 7 through 9. These should help with an understanding of whether the people of God escape tribulation. Now, the Noah scriptures that Jesus references, we're going to use Luke. Looking at Luke chapter 17, verses 26 through 29, you have some scriptures that really sound as if, there's a secret rapture. Then what you do is you have your group compare them to verses 34, 35, and 36. You will see that those verses have a key word that helps you to understand the fullness of what the scriptures are referring to and what Jesus is teaching and what he's not teaching. So, again, excuse me. So again, there's a lot here. I'm not going to give you everything. Study to show thyself approved unto God. I look forward to hearing how things went for your group. Feel free to look at how things went for one of my groups. Learn from my mistakes, do better.